Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show. You can find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You could find us on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe. Just click the red button. You could find us at realmeneatplants.com. What follows is an episode from an event called the Plant-Powered Passport in the summer of 2024. With Maxim Sigouin, a great health coach and fitness coach, speaking on the subject of how to speed up your metabolism. So watch, and you will just speed up. The time will go very, very fast. And when it's over, you'll be in better shape. Thanks for watching.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plant-Powered Passport. I am the sort of moderator, I guess, today. I am Bryan Dennstedt, and I am the founder of Real Men Eat Plants. So check that out and some of that cool stuff. Glenn and I are putting on the Plant-Powered Passport, Glenn Mercer, and we're excited to be debuting our 3rd event of the year. So if you have some friends and family that want to check it out, you can check out the past episodes in our library, and you can subscribe to the Plant-Powered Passport and learn more cool, awesome tips about the plant-based lifestyle and being plant-powered. And I'm so excited to introduce my buddy who's been on we've been on each other's podcast now a couple times, and we are really cool. We're really excited to have Maxim Sigouin here, and he is the founder of the Fit Vegan, and he talked to us just a couple weeks ago about some awesome ways to get plant-powered, get better sleep, all sorts of cool stuff. So check out that version. And today he's going to be talking all about speeding up your metabolism and really digging in on a bunch of cool reverse dieting techniques and things like that. So welcome to the show, Maxim. We're so glad you're here, and I will step away and turn the microphone over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, man. Very excited to be here and be teaching again. I definitely recommend for the people that are just tuning into this talk, as it's the first time you see me, definitely go watch the previous recording, because I went over everything you need to know in order to improve your body composition on a whole food plant-based lifestyle. So meaning decreasing the amount of body fat on your body and increasing the amount of lean muscle mass through all the lifestyle changes that you can make. So reverse dieting was one of the components that I talked about in that training, but I didn't go too much in depth because I felt that it required its own training. And so let's talk about reverse dieting. So reverse dieting is something that most people should do once they're done losing the weight, because a lot of people in North America and around the world struggle to lose weight. They struggle to keep the weight off, right? If you really think about it, most people don't have an issue really losing the weight. They have an issue keeping it off across the world. And the stats are that about 95% of people put the weight back on within 6 months to a year after having lost it, which that's completely wild to me. So you did all of this effort to exercise, to watch your nutrition, to make sure you sleep properly, to make sure you do your steps, to lose a 20, 30, 40, 60, 80, 100 pounds, only to have the weight put back on within 6 months to a year after, right? So to me, it doesn't make sense. So I always thought to myself, there has to be a way to solve this problem and to help people keep the weight off. So as I kind of dove into some research, I found this process called reverse dieting. It is not the magic pill that you wish that it will be. Everything that I'm about to tell you today is not really sexy, but is the truth. And it's the only way to ultimately speed up your metabolism post-fat loss while keeping the weight off. Okay. So reverse dieting simply means let's get your body used to processing more food after you've lost the weight in order to keep the weight off. So we're going to use a little analogy to explain this. Some of you have probably gone camping before or watched a movie or when someone goes camping, because a lot of people live in cities nowadays. So when you go camping, you have a few small pieces of wood, you put a few pieces of newspaper in there, and you put that lighter up and you have a really small flame. That is your metabolism after doing a fat loss phase or a weight loss phase or a body recomposition phase. Because as you're looking to lose the amount of body fat and lose some weight, one thing you have to do is put yourself in a calorie deficit, right? So you have to eat slightly less food over time. You have to do a little bit more exercise over time. And what happens is your body gets accustomed to being able to do more stuff on less food, right? The body is pretty simple. So your body gets used to doing more stuff on less food. So what that means is it has to slow down its metabolism as it's going through this fat loss phase, because if not, it's going to run out of fuel and your body thinks that you're going to die if you run out of fuel ultimately. So knowing that your body will just adjust to that over time, it'll decrease the metabolism. So basically what happens is you start a fat loss phase and you're like a Hummer. And as you kind of go through your body recomposition phase, your body becomes fuel efficient. So you're able to do more exercise and more steps and all that stuff on less and less food. And you become like a Prius. You become super fuel efficient, which is great. But that means that your body is used to performing on a small amount of fuel, which is not really sustainable. For those of you that have done fat loss phase, if you're women, I don't like to go any lower than 1,300, maybe 1,200 for women in a calorie deficit. That is not a place to live. That is not a place of like, yeah, I'm going to happily eat 1,300 calories for the rest of my life. It doesn't sound fun. Most women that we work with will end up eating 2,000, 2,200, 2,400 calories to maintain the weight loss. And for men, right, if you're doing a fat loss phase and you end your calories at 1,900 or 2,000 calories, that is not a place that you want to live for the rest of your life. You probably want to eat more food than that. And so going back to this fire analogy, as you go through your body recomposition phase, you have a slow metabolism, which is a small flame. Now, if we wanted to make this small flame bigger and have a raging fire, meaning a raging metabolism, what would be the best strategy? Throw a massive log of wood on top of it, or throw smaller pieces of wood on it over time and to allow that flame to kind of grow and get bigger, right? We all know that if you throw a big piece of wood on a small fire, you're going to put it out because the flame can't handle this much wood. But if you throw smaller pieces of wood on it, it will grow over time. Your body, the metabolism works the exact same way. And so what most people do after they're done their weight loss phase is they do the equivalent of throwing a big log of wood on it, right? They use unsustainable method. They starve themselves. They severely over-exercise. They use weird ways or weird supplements to try to lose the weight. And once they've lost the weight, they go like, yes, party, I'm done. Let me just go back to eating some of my favorite foods. I'm going to stop going to the gym for a week, or maybe I'll cut back to half the amount of time I was going to the gym. And because there's such a decrease in energy output and such a massive increase in calorie intake from like, let me just go back to eating some of my favorite foods, that's like throwing a big log of wood on it. Your body can't handle it. And then it just basically puts on a bunch of fat while it gets used to burning the excess amount of calories that you're asking of it. So your body, just understand that your body's like a sponge at the end of a fat loss phase. If you increase your food intake by too much, your body will soak it because it just thinks that, it's been in the middle of the desert for a long time and it hasn't had access to food for a long time, and you just gave it a buffet. It's going to store it because it doesn't know the next time that it won't have access to a lot of food, right? That's what your body is wired for. We covered that in the first training, the previous video. That's why I say it's important to go and listen to it. So how do you make the small flame bigger? You throw smaller pieces of wood on it over time. You're able to grow that flame. You want to do the exact same thing with your food. So instead of coming in and being, I've been missing, vegan ice cream or vegan burger or vegan cake, I'm going to, add an extra 500 calories per day to my food, 1,000 calories per day, which most people don't track after a fat loss phase. They just kind of go back to eating normally. Instead of doing that, we're just going to methodically add food and trick the body into being able to process more food to keep the weight off. So I'm going to explain to you exactly how to do it. This whole process is literally you just tricking your body into doing what you want it to do. Okay. If you try to do it too fast, you're not tricking the body. Your body will catch on to what's happening and it will store some of the fat back. And so let's just say that I'm just going to grab a woman as an example because we work with a lot of women. You do your weight loss phase and you drop 40 pounds and you end up at 1,300 calories at the end of your fat loss phase. If you're ready to start the reverse dieting process, we're going to go from 1,300 calories and we're going to go up to maybe 1,350 calories a day. So just a small increase of 50 calories per day ultimately. So you would eat 1,350 calories every single day of the week for week 1 of reverse dieting. And then we would observe how your body responds. And depending how it responds, we can either decrease, stay, or wait, basically, before we're able to increase. So let's break it down. You end your fat loss phase at a certain amount of calories. I invite you to go and calculate your new maintenance calorie. So if you go to any online, just type TDEE calculator, which is total daily energy expenditure. You enter your height, your age, your weight, your level of activity, and it will tell you the amount of calories you theoretically should consume to maintain your weight. The thing is, if you've lost 40 pounds, that number has changed because you're 40 pounds lighter. So your body has less need for calories because you're lighter. And so you calculate that new number. So let's just say you finish your cut at 1,300 and your new number is 2,300, right? A lot of the times it'll probably be 800 to 1,000 calories extra. So what we're going to do is every single week, we're going to add 50 calories to your food intake. Watch how your body responds. Add another 50 calories. So you can see how that process would be really slow to do. All right. And that, yes, thank you for putting that there, Bryan. That link was also in the previous presentation. So if you do 1,350 calories on week 1, maybe 1,400 on week 2, 1,450 on week 3, you can see that if we increase, it'll take you several months to go through this process. That is the unsexy part of reverse dieting, is it'll take, 4 to 6 months to kind of go through that process. Normally when we coach people, we can increase by 75 or 100, but because we're monitoring them, but I'm giving you a safe number for you to be able to do by yourself. Okay. So just add 50 calories per day on week 1. Now, here's how we decide whether we are able to add more food or should kind of sit on it and hold on it for a little bit. If you weigh 120 pounds and you're eating 1,350 calories on week 1, at the end of week 1, if you still weigh 120 pounds and you still weigh the same or within 0.5 pounds on the up or down from your initial weight, then you have permission to increase. But if you add 50 calories and at the end of that week, you went up to 122 pounds, that's your body basically telling you, like, we did too fast of an increase. And so what you have to do during that time is you have to allow yourself a second week at the exact same amount of calories, just to give your body more time to get accustomed to it, right? It's I'm gonna use a weird analogy. It's not a vegan one, but I haven't found a better one to kind of explain it. Is the analogy of boil. How do you boil a frog without it jumping out of the container, right? You slowly increase the heat so that it doesn't know that it's being cooked. Again, not a super vegan analogy, but I haven't found another version of it. But it's basically what we're doing to your body. We're just slowly turning it up on your body. And if we go too fast, your body will be like, oh, there's an excess of energy. Let's store some of it. And that's why your weight would go up. So every week you're going to increase 50 calories. If your weight goes up after having increased the amount of food during a week, just stay at it for a second week. And I promise you it will stabilize. And then once it stabilizes, or maybe it'll come down a little bit, then you have permission to add another 50 calories. And then same thing, if you had 50 calories during 1 week, every day for 1 week, and your weight is the same or stays pretty much around the same, great. You now have permission to add more food. But if it spikes up too much by like 2 pounds, just stay at the same amount of food for 2 weeks, right? Ultimately, your body will not plateau until you get close to that maintenance calorie. So like we talked about earlier in this example, you ended at 1,300 and your new maintenance is 2,300. You will be able to kind of play this game of add 50, your weight doesn't change, add 50, your weight changed a little bit, stabilized for another week. Okay, add another 50 because it's stabilized. And you're going to play this game and you're going to work your way up all the way to this new theoretical maintenance that you have of 2,300 calories. How you know that you've passed what your maintenance calorie is if you make an increase and your weight goes up on week 1 and you stay for another week, which is what you're supposed to do, and your weight goes up on week 2. Now you know that you've surpassed what your specific maintenance calorie is. And so that's going to be your sign. Okay, let's backtrack by one increase that we just did. So let's just say you're at 2,300 and you're like, you know what? My weight is stable. I'm going to go up to 2,350 for 1 week. And then your weight spikes up a little bit. You choose to stable. You don't add more food and your weight spikes up again on that second week. Now we know that we've gone over. So just backtrack 50 calories to back to where you were before your weight started going up ultimately. Okay. So again, this is a very tedious process. That's why I usually recommend having some guidance to do it, just because as I'm explaining it to you, I'm seeing the complexity of explaining it, but I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. So ultimately it's pretty simple. We're tricking the body into being able to process more food. Now, here's how it works, and here's the types of food you need to add. So when you're at the end of a fat loss phase and you've been in a deficit for a while and you've had a higher energy expenditure than normal, like I said, your body is like a sponge. And so it will store any excess calorie for the future as a form of survival mechanism. And so that's why I said if we add too much food, your body will store some of it. If we add the wrong types of food, your body will store some of it. So as we're increasing your food intake, we just want to do it with carbohydrates. We do not want to do it with fats. So as you're adding that extra, 50 calories per week, we don't want it to come from nut butters, from avocados, from nuts and seeds, and any of those foods. The reason being is not because they are unhealthy, not because they're bad for you, they're great for you. It's just because they take longer to digest. And because they take longer to digest, your body has a higher chance of storing it as fat, because it's not energy that is readily available to use. Versus if that 50 calories extra comes from eating half a banana or a cup or two of strawberries, because it's so rapidly digesting and it gets converted to glycogen into your body, which is your body's preferred source of energy. So when you move your body and you work out and you exercise, you're using glycogen in the muscle. So when you're eating carbohydrate-rich foods like fruits and berries and things like that, eventually kind of graduate to sweet potatoes and oatmeal and quinoa and grains and all that, your body will convert it to glycogen so it can use it right away. So there's not enough of that energy coming in for your body to be like, okay, let me use some of it and store some of it from the future. Your body goes like, I've been in a deficit for a long time. Let me just use it right away because I need it. I've been in need of energy for a while now. And so we just want to increase your calories with carbohydrates. That's why, I promote and, Plant Powered Passport and everyone on this team, a high carbohydrate, whole food, plant-based lifestyle, for multiple reasons, because when you're eating high carbohydrate foods, the plants that are high in carbohydrate tends to be the one that are higher in nutrient density, right? So there's the added bonus there. But when you're reverse dieting, basically you want it to be coming from, fast digesting carbs, especially at the beginning. So maybe for the first half of your reverse diet, just add fruits as your calories. Once you get to the second half of the reverse diet, then you can start adding a little bit more complex carbohydrate, right? Like your quinoa, your oatmeal, your rice, and things like teff, farro, and things like that. Just because you'll have a pretty decent amount of calories being added to your food intake. So I'm just going to pause here, Bryan, just in case there's any question, because that was very theoretical and technical. I still have a few points that I obviously want to talk about in terms of how to deal with cardio, how to deal with fitness, and how to deal with all of these things. So just want to make sure I answer any questions if there are any in the chat ultimately. Okay. How can busy parents effectively track their calories intake without becoming overwhelming? That is a great question. So there's multiple ways to track your calories. I don't have my phone with me. I think it's charging, but using an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer is one of the ways, but a lot of people have a lot of resistance to that. So personally, I track my food every single day because I am doing a body recomposition phase. It literally takes me maximum 5 minutes per day to track my food because I pretty much eat the same thing every single day. And so what I do is I'm going to go through my day, and at the end of the day, I'm just going to take 5 minutes and I'll punch in all of my food to make sure that I'm on track. And usually I'll have a little bit of leftover, so I'll make some vegan ice cream with the leftover calories. But I ate my whole day and I remember what I ate. I roughly remember the quantity. So I go at the end of the day and I punch in my calories. The other way you can do it is do some work up front so that you don't have to do some work every day and on the back end. So what that means is you can sit down on a Saturday or Sunday whenever you have time and build yourself a template meal plan. Like, what's the breakfast that I like to have? What's the lunch that I like to have every day when I'm at work and I'm busy? What's an easy dinner that we can cook for the family every single night and kind of have some variation of it? So then you're going to go in an app like MyFitnessPal and Chronometer. You're going to punch in, well, I love to have overnight oats. Okay, great. Well, maybe there's some chia seeds, there's some oatmeal, there's an unsweet almond milk, maybe there's a little bit of plant-based protein powder, maybe there's a little bit of maple syrup. Okay, for lunch, I love to have a tempeh wrap with some tomatoes, with some spinach, whatever sauce you prefer in there. So what you're going to do is you're going to enter your breakfast, you're going to enter your lunch, you're going to enter your dinner, and then you're going to see how many calories it gives you at the end of the day. And if basically what you're going to do is you're going to adjust the portions of the ingredients that you're going to be consuming to match the calorie and the protein goal that you're supposed to be hitting for the day. To know that, go watch the previous training, right? But I tell you exactly how to figure out your calories and your protein. But once you punch in your favorite foods that you like to have for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, you're going to play with your proportions. And then once you have your proportions, it's very easy. When you wake up in the morning, you know exactly how much oats to have, how much chia seed to add to it, how much maple syrup or date syrup, how much plant-based protein powder, how much fruits to have on there. You know exactly for your lunch. I can have 1 wrap, I can have 2 wrap, I can eat half a block of tempeh, a full block, or some tofu or roasted beans in there, whatever it may be. But it just makes it easier once you build yourself a template off of your favorite recipes and the foods that you enjoy to eat. So you just have to sit down once, do all of the math, calculate it, and then you can use that template every single day. And then from there, it's very easy to make substitutions, right? Because, let's be honest, you have a really busy day at work. You guys don't have time to cook. You want to order takeout. Okay, well, what is your template dinner? Well, I was going to have, a cup of rice. I was going to have a bunch of vegetables, and I was going to have half a block of tofu. Okay, can I get the equivalent of that in the takeout that I'm going to be ordering? Can I have 1 portion of complex carbohydrate, can have a bunch of vegetables, and can have 1 source of plant-based protein? So you don't necessarily have to be exactly on the dot, but you can make those pretty easy substitutions ultimately. The only thing I'm going to say if you eat out is be careful for the oil that they add to those, because that adds a significant amount of calories, right? So hopefully that answers the question on for it to not be overwhelming. Build yourself a little template. Use an app like MyFitnessPal Chronometer to calculate it once, and then use that as your base guideline to kind of make substitutions from there. Right? Perfect. So I know it varies. Each person is different, but what's a healthy amount of regular exercise to maintain weight, and what type of exercise do you recommend? That is a great question. So the 2 components are, what's a healthy amount of regular exercise to maintain weight, and what type of exercise you recommend? Okay. Resistance training would be the number 1, right? You need to do resistance training / strength training minimum 3 times a week. If you can do 3 times a week, you can maintain, you can make some progression. You can make great results. You won't regress on 3 times a week. So I mean, resistance training is you are working out your muscles directly, right? Not Pilates, not hiking, not yoga, not running, or any of these things. Those are great for mobility. They're great for a little bit of muscular endurance. But if you want that lean muscle building benefit, if you want that bone building density benefit from it, if you want the hormone balancing effects from it, if you want that strength to come from it, you have to train the muscle directly. So whether it's a bench press or it's a push-up, whether it's a lat pull down or pull up, whether it's a bicep curl with a band or with a barbell, you need to work your muscles directly. So that's what I mean by resistance training and strength training. You can do it at home with resistance band or weights you have at home, or you can do it at the gym. That's what I mean by resistance training and strength training. It is not, hiking, Pilates, all of these things are more on the cardiovascular side / a little bit of muscular endurance, but they're not strength oriented to build lean muscle and to strengthen your bone to the degree at which strength training can do it for you. A healthy amount would be minimum 3 times a week. Listen, if you're able to do 3 resistance training sessions a week and you're able to walk, 7 to 10,000 steps per day, you're in a good position, right? And I'll be upfront, it's not that there's something magical about 7 to 10,000 steps per day. is just that if we put that as coaches, if we put that as a guideline, it means that you're forced to get up throughout the day and move your body versus sit at your computer all day and work or watch the TV. So many people wake up, will sit down, eat breakfast, be on their phone, will sit in their car, will sit at work, will sit in their car back home, will sit to watch TV. We want a little bit more movement throughout the day. It's not because you did one workout that it's going to outweigh you sitting for 12 hours a day. So by putting a number like 7 to 10,000, it definitely forces you to put more awareness into moving your body throughout the day. So if you do that, you'll take care of a little bit of your cardiovascular health. At a minimum, I'd love to see people do 30 to 45 minutes of cardiovascular exercise in a zone 2. So zone 2, again, we covered in the previous training, but it's basically at a pace where you're sweating. Breathing is a little bit challenged, but you're still able to maintain a conversation. So that would be like a light jog. You're jogging with a friend, you're still able to maintain a conversation. If you are unable to sustain a steady pace of conversation, you're going too hard. If you're not breathing heavy while you're talking to your friend, it's going too easy. So if you can do 30 to 45 minutes of zone 2 training in a week, that's an awesome place to be. Doing your steps every day and ultimately 3 resistance training sessions per week would make the world of a difference for the majority of the world. The majority of the world did that every single week. We'd have so many less people that are sick, that would be dealing with chronic illnesses, that would be dealing with bone density loss, that would be dealing with a decrease in lean muscle mass ultimately. So that would be the answer for that in terms of types of exercise.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I want tofu tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
A question from Kelly on YouTube. Hello, Kelly from YouTube. What are some key vegan foods that can help boost metabolism, and how can they be how should they be incorporated into a daily diet? That is a great question. So there is this great book called The Power Foods Diet. I actually have it. It's back there on my bookshelf. Dr. Neil Barnard. I interviewed him on my show, the Fit Vegan Podcast. And he talked about specific foods that will help to increase the caloric burn per day, right? So we all heard of like foods like ginger and chili and certain spices. Blueberries was a top one that kind of came out. So those are all foods that would help to kind of optimize the process that you're doing. But I do want to be upfront because a lot of people are looking at these foods or these supplements or these herbs as shortcuts. I had this direct conversation with Dr. Barnard. I was like, can we redefine the laws of thermodynamics? Can we redefine that if you eat more calories than you burn, that you won't put on weight? He's like, no. If you eat more calories than what you burn per day, what your body is doing per day, you will put on weight. If you eat less than what your body puts out per day, you will lose weight. So understanding that is the fundamental truth. If you are eating more food than you're burning every day, but you're eating blueberries and ginger and spicy food and blah, 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 you're not going to lose much weight because you're in a caloric surplus. And so if you go into a calorie deficit and don't eat blueberry and ginger and spicy food and all of these special foods that he talks in the book, you will lose weight. But when you add the foods that he talks in the book, like the blueberry, the chili, and the ginger, and some of all these other chili spice and all these other foods, you will optimize the fat loss that you're losing, right? So I just want to make that clear, because if you're overeating, doesn't matter how much chili powder or cinnamon that you put on your food, it's not going to have the effect that you want to. So you do need to be in that calorie deficit. You do need to be having a certain amount of energy expenditure. And then adding these foods while you're in that state will optimize the rate of fat loss, and ultimately will get you better results. All right. So I hope that answers your question, Kelly. Brian, if there's any other questions, feel free to post them in the chat here. If not, I'll just kind of continue moving forward with the cardio a little bit. Okay, perfect. So let me move forward with the cardio. So we covered what reverse dieting is, how it works, how much calories you should add, how you identify your maintenance calories, how much you should increase per week, when you should increase. Like I mentioned, if your weight is stable, you can increase. If it goes up a little bit, stabilize for an additional week, you'd be 2 weeks at the same amount of calories, and then you can increase from there. The foods we should add are going to be carbohydrate, cardio, and strength training. We just talked about it, but not in the context of reverse dieting. So the whole point with reverse dieting is we want to increase your caloric intake. We want to trick your body into processing more food, but we also want to trick your body into having to do less exercise to maintain the weight that you've lost, right? We all know at least one person in the community or in their surrounding that lost 40 pounds, and they lost it 3 years ago, but they're still running 2 hours every single day. Right? We all know that person of like, I need to do a bunch of cardio all the time or else the weight's going to come back on. Listen, there's a better way to do it. So the end goal of reverse dieting is to leave you in a sustainable position. So let me ask you this. Would it be sustainable for you to eat way more food and do way less exercise to keep a 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 pound fat loss? I know the answer is yes. Right? Who wouldn't want to eat more food, do less exercise, and keep the weight off that they struggle with for the whole life, right? So that's the whole purpose of reverse dieting. So as we're increasing the food intake, what we're going to do is we're also going to decrease the amount of cardiovascular exercise. So if you've gone through a weight loss, your cardiovascular exercise, so the amount of cardio you do per week, will probably be a little bit higher, maybe 60 to 100 to 120 minutes a week. Right. So it's like an hour to 2 hours a week spread out throughout the week. Ultimately, doesn't have to be in one session. But what we want to do is, as we're done the weight loss and we decrease our food, we also want to decrease the amount of cardio we're doing as we're increasing the food. But again, we want to do it slowly. So it might just be decreasing the amount of cardio you do per week by 5 minutes a week. Right. Again, the smaller the decrease, the more we're tricking the body. The faster we're doing a decrease, the more we're in a rush, the more the body's going to catch on to what we're doing and is more likely to put on some fat. And so if we're able to add 50 calories per week and decrease the cardio by 5 minutes per week and kind of do this over the periods of a few months, again, 4 months minimum for sure, as we're doing this, then what happens at the end is our example of a person we spoke about earlier that was at 1,300 calories, let's just say doing 120 minutes of cardio a week and 3 resistance training, or 4, for example, 4 resistance training, 120 minutes of cardio, 1,300 calorie. Once we're done reverse dieting with them, and I've have several clients that have been in this exact situation, what we're going to do, what's going to end up at the end is they're going to be able to consume 2,300 calories. They're going to be doing 30 minutes of cardio versus 120 minutes of cardio. And then they're going to be doing 3 resistance training sessions a week versus 4. So imagine that you've struggled to lose 40 pounds your whole life. Now you get to consume 2,300 calories. It's a lot of food to maintain your weight. Plus, you only have to do 30 minutes of cardio a week, plus 3 strength training sessions a week. You get so much more free time to spend time with your husband, with your wife, with your kids, to go enjoy your new level of fitness, the new body that you have. Get time to read and do other things. Because again, from personal experience, I used to be 240 pounds and I lost 80 pounds at one point in my life. When I was 240 pounds, shit was hard. Like climbing upstairs was hard. My butt was so big that when I turned around, I just knocked stuff from tables and stuff. And I didn't know my butt would stick out that much. I was uncomfortable in my clothing. I was always pulling my shirt. I was pulling, I don't know who else has done this, but you kind of pull your belt to put it over your stomach so you're comfortable when you sit down. I've lived all of this stuff. I just felt like I had an extra layer of a coat of fat on me that I just wanted to be able to unzip right away and get rid of. Ultimately, it took time for the weight to get off. And obviously it hasn't come back on, right? I'm in the best shape of my life at this point. So that's what I want for every single person once they're done reverse dieting is, can I get you to the place where you're eating a ton of food? You're the fittest you've ever been. You're able to keep the weight off. that little voice in your head that's potentially right now is there if you're struggling with your weight of like, I should start exercising next week. I shouldn't be eating this food. I should really meal prep this week. I really want this piece of vegan cake, but I should eat my bootable instead. Like that little voice that is just so annoying that tells you that you shouldn't do something, but you really want to do the thing. Like getting rid of that voice felt so good to me. And I want people to experience that. And so that's why I share the power of reverse dieting, because there's genuinely no other process in the world that exists to help you go from under eating, over exercise to a position where you're eating more food than you can comprehend, especially if you're eating whole food plant based. That's so much volume, and you have to exercise way less than you think in order to be able to maintain the body that you've always wanted. There's no pill, there's no other process, there's no procedure, there's no foods you can eat that will give you the same amount of results as going through reverse dieting. And I have to make a case for it because it takes 4 to 6 months to do. It's not a really sexy process, and most people don't want to do the work. But when people, message to work with us, I tell them, if you're not going to do reverse dieting, I don't want to work with you, because if you lose the weight, there's a 95% chance it'll come back on. Like, what's the point of doing this in the first place? So I'm here to tell you, if you want to lose the weight, just do it right. Be ready to do this process after you're done, right? So yeah, I'm going to open it up for some questions to see if there's anything else from Bryan, because that's pretty much what I have on my side on reverse dieting. I really hope I made a case for it for everyone listening. Everyone's going to be watching the replay after, because don't take on a fat loss phase if you're not ready to do this process after, because there's literally no other way to do it. Again, it's not something that I created. It is the work of Dr. Layne Norton. Feel free to Google him. There's a lot of studies on this. Question. So what are some desired certification a coach should have to properly guide us in reverse dieting? I'll be honest with you, there's no certification for reverse dieting. So to me, obviously we have, like, I'll just talk about us because I can't talk about other people, but we have a certified holistic nutritionist that is whole food plant based on our team. We have Dr. Lori Marbus that's on our team that does the consultation and blood work for our members. We have certified personal trainers that create the workouts for our members, and they have accountability coaches. There's no certification for reverse dieting. I don't know how to say it. I've done it like 800 times with clients. That's why we're good at it. But there's no specific certification for it. Ultimately, I think Dr. Layne Norton wrote a book on reverse dieting. So you can go read that. I think there's a book on reverse dieting. I think it's called Forever Fat Loss or Reverse Dieting, but I would look into those. What are some effective strategies for maintaining motivation throughout the process? That's a great question, Bryan. Understanding that motivation is not the thing that's going to get you through the whole process. You have to be committed to the process, right? A lot of people rely too much on motivation. I'll be honest, this is what I do for a living. I've been working out for 19 years. I've been in the fitness industry and sport and athletics industry for 19 years. If I only worked out when I felt motivated, I would probably work out 60% of the time. Right. 40% of the time, I'm like, I'm tired. I got work to do. I got, videos to record. I got stuff. I got other things going on. I want to stay in my bed too. And when I'm waking up early in the morning. So if I only work out when I felt motivated, I would not be in the shape that I'm in. I would not be in the position that I'm in. And so I just invite you to see fitness and nutrition from a different angle. So a lot of people see it as this extra thing. That, I just saw the message on there. Gloria, hope you're doing well. Gloria's inside of our Fit Vegan program. For reverse dieting, how long is the ideal for a 20-pound fat loss? So reverse dieting is the thing that takes place after the fat loss. But I'll answer that question after. I just want to talk about that motivation piece for a quick second. So shift the idea. A lot of people treat a transformation in nutrition and fitness as like this thing that is purely fueled by willpower. I want you to treat, and I'm going to share this because Bryan was sharing with me his, brought his new baby on the camera before we started recording. For the parents that are listening, for the people that are caregivers to a parent or someone that they love, which is what I resonate to, you don't show up for your kid. You don't show up for that parent or that person that's sick that you care for when you're motivated. You are committed to serving them wholeheartedly, even if you feel like shit, even if it's raining, even if you slept 1 hour, you are committed to going there, right? If your baby's crying in the middle of the night or needs something or is hurt, you go like, I don't feel like it today. Right? You would never do that. If you have someone that you love that's suffering and they need your help, you go like, I don't feel like it today, right? You would never do that. So I just need you to shift your perspective to like, it's about commitment versus motivation. You need to be committed to this specific outcome. And I'll just throw in a little something to kind of intensify. See here, I just want to make sure I get the question right. Oh, the question disappeared. But I just want to make sure that I share this. For those of you that we work with a lot of caregivers and people that tend to put other people first in their life. So if your reason as to why you can't do this is because you don't have time, I'm taking care of my kids and blah, 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 I have all these things going on. I want you to understand deeply that it is selfish for you not to work out. It is selfish for you not to prioritize your nutrition because, and I have history to back me on this, we all know that what happens when someone doesn't exercise and doesn't take care of themselves for years and years and years, they get sick. Guess what happens when you get sick? Who's going to take care of you? Your wife, your husband, your kids, the people that you love. All the people that you put first that were your reasoning as to why you're not doing these things for yourself, you're now forcing them to be in a position where they have to see you suffer, where they can't save you. And ultimately, they'll probably be a little bit pissed at you because you didn't take care of yourself. And I was a caregiver for almost 5 years to my late partner who passed away from cancer. I saw her suffer 24/7 for almost 5 years. And being the position of caregiver was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And you have to understand that if you don't start taking care of yourself, the people that you love will be forced to take care of you. And if you've never been in a position of a caregiver, I promise you, you do not want to put them in that position because it destroys a person. To see someone that you love suffer and you can't do anything about it. So again, don't focus on motivation. Be committed as this was your child, as this was someone that you're caring for, but that person is you. It is selfless for you to work out. It is selfless for you to eat healthy, and it is selfish for you not to do it. So hope that answers the question that was brought up. So I know Gloria had a question. Yes, for reverse dieting, how long is the ideal for a 20-pound loss? So reverse dieting takes roughly 4 to 6 months. When we do it, Gloria's, if it's the right Gloria, she's inside of our Fit Vegan program, takes 4 months because we're monitoring the whole process and we can go a little bit faster because we control their training, the nutrition, and everything. So it takes roughly 4 months. But for a fat loss, again, you can lose 20 pounds in about 16 weeks. Anything faster than that, I think, would be unhealthy because you would have to be in too steep of a calorie deficit where you would start to sacrifice some lean muscle mass. But if you want to play it safe, a pound a week is a pretty good frame, because if you lose a pound a week, that means you can't be in a big calorie deficit. And that's going to allow you, with that small calorie deficit, to preserve as much lean muscle mass as possible and to focus on just losing fat. Because when people cut their food too much and do too much exercise up front, they lose weight on the scale, but a lot of that weight is lean muscle tissue, which ultimately leaves people looking skinny fat and fluffy and pudgy at the end. And no one wants to look pudgy at the beach, right? Everyone wants to feel lean, toned, and strong. So when you go into a slower calorie deficit, you're able to preserve and build lean muscle mass and just focus on burning fat. So 20 pounds will take about 16 weeks to 20 weeks to kind of lose that number if that person is compliant, obviously. If you're not eating the food and doing the exercise, it will take longer. And the reverse dieting for everyone takes 4 to 6 months because there's just so much calorie deficit we can create with someone, right? So if you're an average woman, your maintenance would be maybe 2,300 calories. Like, you're not going to want to go lower than 1,300, max 1,200 calories. So meaning you have to go up, 1,000 calories in total. So that would take about 4 to 6 months to do. So yeah, that's kind of the time frame. Kelly, hello, Kelly. What role do meal timing and frequency play in metabolism, and what schedule do you recommend for optimal metabolic function? That is another great question. So put it this way, there's a lot of studies on that. You can find a study to back up whatever belief system you want. My whole thing is about sustainability. So if I tell you that you have to eat 6 meals a day every 2 hours, but you work a full-time job, you have 3 kids and a husband, and you're trying to live your life, that's how sustainable is that? Do you see yourself eating 6 meals for the rest of your life? Probably not, right? But, this is what I do for a living. I'm into fitness. I don't eat 6 meals a day. I can tell you that you have to eat in a 16-hour window, and don't eat for 16 hours and then eat the food for the rest of the hour. I can tell you fast for 20 hours and eat for 4 hours after. At the end of the day, if your goal is to improve your body composition and build lean muscle, the only two things that matter is the amount of protein that you get into your day and your calories. You have to be in a calorie deficit. So if you eat 6 meals a day and you're in your calorie deficit, and if you fast for 18 hours and eat for the rest of the hours and you're still in that same calorie deficit, and if you fast 22 hours and you eat for 2 hours, but you're in that same calorie deficit and same amount of protein, guess what? You'll get very similar results. You might have 0.01% of a difference. And so I like to just keep it basic. Calorie deficit, protein, resistance training, cardiovascular exercise. What is sustainable for you? If for you it's easier to skip breakfast, have, lunch, a snack, dinner, and a snack after, and you can keep that up for months on end without being an effort, and you can be compliant with that, then do that. If you know that you're a breakfast, lunch, dinner type of person, you don't like snacking, then do that. If you know that you don't like having dinner I don't know, everyone loves having dinner, but let's just say you love eating your food later in the night and you just want to fast a little bit half of the day and eat your food the rest of the day, as long as you're hitting your calories for the day, as long as you're hitting your protein, and obviously you're eating whole food plant-based, you're going to get very similar results. Again, I'll make 0.001% of a difference. And so pick the meal distribution that is sustainable for you and your family, because people always confuse what's optimal and what's realistic. And so, yes, studies are telling you that if you work out in the evening for strength training, it's better than in the morning. But what if you work in the evening and you don't have time to do your workout? Is it better to not do a workout at all? No, do the workout in the morning. That's going to be so much better for your health, even though it's statistically not the best. I strength train in the morning. I love it because it makes me feel good. It helps me start the day properly. So there's optimal and there's what's realistic. If you know you can eat 3 meals a day and be consistent with that, do that. If you know for you it's 3 meals with a snack, then do that, because it doesn't matter if I tell you that the most optimal is 4 plus a snack. If you can't stick to it, you're not going to see the results because you're not sticking to it, right? I like to coach people based off sustainability. What can they stick with? Because, you want what's optimal, train like an athlete. They're the best in the world at what they do. So if you want to be optimal, you got to live like an athlete. If you live like an athlete, you can't have a job. It's hard to have a family. You're training all day and napping and sleeping and eating. And so I work with normal people that have normal jobs that want to improve the quality of their life and their health and their relationship with themselves and with their partner. So I don't want to put these odd restrictions on meal timing, saying like you can't have breakfast with your husband when it's the only quality time you have with your husband and your wife. Like, eat the breakfast. It's going to make barely no difference in your transformation. So hopefully that answers the question, right? People are trying to get a little bit too analytic with things and a little bit too optimal, when at the end of the day, if you just do the basics, you'll have the best transformation you've ever had. So perfect. So let's see if there's any other question. Like, that's all for the question. Awesome. Yeah. So basically that's pretty much what I have on my side for reverse dieting. How was that, Bryan?
That was amazing. I definitely picked up another few tips and tricks there. So I really appreciate you doing that. We had some great questions from the audience too. So
good. We'll see Bryan with a 6-pack in a few months from now, taking some notes.
I got to lose my baby weight. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much, Maxim, for joining us on today's Passport episode here. You definitely shared some great experience on reverse dieting. So if there aren't that many books out there, I think you have a prime audience to create one out there. I really like what you said about, increasing the calories slowly, maintain that motivation. I think some of the tips you poured out are going to be very, very helpful for many of our listeners.
Good. Can I just add one thing?
Yeah, please.
I say this at the end of every single group call that I have all my clients. And there's some of you that are listening right now. Hello, I appreciate you tuning in. I say this to all my clients at the end of every call. Everything I share today is absolutely worthless, and none of it will change your health. None of it will change your body. None of it will change your life. It's just all useless information unless you do something with it, right? It's just cool shit you can tell your friends. I was like, oh, I heard about this thing and it does this to the body. It won't change your life. You have to implement it. So I invite you to pick one thing that really resonated with you and take action on that. Whether it's buying the book that I talked about, whether it's starting that process or committing to the body recomp or shifting your mindset from motivation to commitment, like just pick one thing and move forward on it.
And for those interested in learning more about Maxim's work, make sure you follow him on social media. He has an amazing podcast that he puts out regularly. You obviously can check out his website, Fit Vegan Coaching. And I think, tell us a little bit, you have a program kicking off in a couple of days, I think, when I looked at your website earlier today.
Yeah, so I'll just put a few things. You have to go to fitvegancoaching.com and type the website, because I learned that one of my competitors used our name as their SEO for their website, and they have a bad reputation, and people think that we're them, and we're not them. We're the only whole food plant-based body recomposition program at this level that is what we're doing. So if you see anything else that's not my face or my name on it, it's not us. I don't want to be associated to them. So that's one thing. And yeah, we do cohorts just because we have so many people that want to work with us. So it just makes it easier for us to kind of enroll people at specific time. So yeah, if you head over to the website, there's going to be a little countdown. It'll literally tell you when the cutoff is. So, book your call. And ultimately, because I want people to be able to transform their body, I understand that our program may not be for everyone, because some people have specific health conditions, financial situations, whatever it may be. So regardless, if you jump on the call and we have our consultation and it ends up not being a good fit, we will give you a free Fit Vegan meal plan worth $300. So that way you have something to move forward on.
I love it. Well, that's a great thing. And as the Passport subscribers, you got some extra ebooks and stuff from Maxim as well. So make sure you check your download folder for those PDF files. I hope everyone out there listening, watching, found today's show helpful and valuable. Take these strategies to heart, as Maxim did say earlier, and stay motivated on your health. I think we all have a podcast, so check us out and you'll learn some other great tips and tricks. We have the next Passport episode coming up in early August, where we have Dr. Michael Clapper joining us with Glenn Merzer to sort of unpack owning your health, follow a very similar vein to what Maxim was just talking about, but the optimal use of medical care and how to take your health into your own hands to a degree, with the medical system that we know could use a little bit more help in America. So thanks again, Maxim. We really appreciate you being here and being part of our Passport series for 2024. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm happy. I'm warming up the crowd for Dr. Clapper. I'll take that win.
That's right. That's awesome. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great evening.
This has been the Glenn Merzer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at The Glenn Merzer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.